Okay, this will be part 3 of the series, The Garden of Eden in Galilee. And we're going to focus now on the city of Shiloh. Step by step, very slowly. Very, very slowly. Okay. I'm going to give my theory, and then I'm going to try and prove it. First, I'm going to give the theory, and then I'm going to show you why it's right. Okay. This is my theory. Shiloh is the Garden of Eden, without a doubt. Let's go through the history of the Garden of Eden, because it had many, many names in history. Let's talk about its names. First, it was called the Garden of Eden in the time of Adam. When they came to Mount Sinai, we see it's also called Horeb, which literally means sword. Why would a place be called the sword? When Adam was kicked out of the Garden of Eden, God placed the ever-turning sword east of the Garden of Eden to guard the way to the tree of life. For this reason, in those days, it was called Horeb. Let's say Adam's son Seth named the place Horeb, okay? Then we come to Noah, and the place was called Ararat, coming from the word cursed, Aror, because they were cursed after the sin in the Garden of Eden. And notice, Noah landed on the mountains of Ararat. It's not a single mountain, it's more than one. And I'm going to explain this in a second. God commanded us to make the blessings and the curses on Mount Gerizim and Ebal. And he chose those mountains not by accident, but because it's connected with the Garden of Eden. Why? What's the connection between Gerizim, Ebal, and Shiloh? Let's explore that for a moment. Ebal was on the right side, and we had to inscribe all the laws and the commandments on the altar that was made at Ebal. Just like we're commanded to inscribe the laws on our doorposts of our homes, the mezuzah, in the same respect, if Shiloh is God's house, Gerizim and Ebal are the doorposts that you enter through to reach Shiloh. Let's explore this for a second. Like I said, we have Horeb, and then we have Ararat. Now when Abraham comes into the land, Melchizedek is a priest in a place called Shalem. So while Noah named the place Ararat, Shem named the place Shalem, which literally means peace. After Shalem, Abraham names the place Adonai Yireh, which literally means where the Lord is seen. And he says in Genesis, mountain where the Lord is seen, Genesis 22. Then we move to Jacob. On his way to Laban to find his wives, he reaches a place and he has a dream. And he wakes up from this dream and he says, "This is the gateway to heaven. This is the house of God, and I knew it not." And he named the place Bet El, which literally means house of God. He named the place house of God. And then we're told its name was Luz at first, which literally means almond tree. And I would conclude that Abraham named it Adonai Yireh, Isaac named it Luz, and Jacob named it Bethel. However, if Bethel is the chosen place, what do we do with Shiloh, where the tabernacle was erected for 400 years? Are they the same place? What's going on here? Where does the name Shiloh actually come from? Shin Lamed Hey. The root letters are Shin Lamed because the Hey simply makes it female. Hey is never a root letter. So, that's not true. Hey can be a root letter, but in this case, if it's on the end, it's generally female. It can be a root letter. I take that back. In the case of Shiloh, it's female. So the word Shin Lamed, where does it appear? Guess what? It appears one place in the whole Torah. One place. Exodus chapter 3. Moses comes to Mount Sinai, sees a burning bush, and the first thing God says to him, remove your shoes because the place you are standing on is holy ground. Remove your shoes. Shel, in Hebrew, shel. Shin Lamed. That's why Moses named the place Shiloh. Because his first encounter with God, the first thing he tells him to do is remove his shoes. Mind-blowing. How nobody's picked this up before. Okay, so that's my theory. And now we're going to explore geographically why I'm sure this place is where I think it is. Okay. Turn your attention to Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 30, where it talks about where is Gerizim and Ebal, the gateway to God's house. Where is it? Are they not opposite the Gilgal, next to the Alon Moreh, where the Canaanites dwell in the Arabah? What is the Gilgal? That's the first question. What is the Gilgal? It literally means the circle of circles. Where do we see this word in the Torah? Genesis 31, when Jacob made a peace covenant with Laban, he made a circle and a pillar on the inside, and he called the place Gilead or Galid, meaning the circle of witness. A witness to what? A witness to the peace covenant he made with Laban. The Laban should not cross this stone circle to do harm, and he will not cross it towards Laban, which dwelt in Damascus, more or less, around Damascus area. He shall not cross the Golan Heights to do harm. Why do I say Golan Heights? Because there's only one stone circle in Israel east of the Jordan, and that's found in the Golan Heights. Today it's called Gilgal Rephaim. And they really believe that the giants, when I say they, archaeologists believe that the giants built this stone circle because there's hundreds of thousands of stones. But Jacob was a mighty man. If you remember the story when he first met Rachel at the well, normally the whole flock of sheep pull the rope which moves the stone from the well, and then they can drink from the well. And when they finish drinking, the sheep replace the stone. So Jacob had the strength of a whole flock of sheep. He was an extremely strong man. Very strong. Mighty. Even I would say mighty. So I believe he made this crazy stone structure we find in the Golan Heights called Gilgal Rephaim. And going back to Deuteronomy chapter 11 verse 30, Gerizim and Ebal are opposite the Gilgal, meaning opposite the Golan Heights. And what do we find opposite the Golan Heights? Tzfat and Meron area. Okay? And since we know that Judah was north of the Sea of Galilee, around Tzfat, and Benjamin dwelled between Judah and Joseph, so Joseph should be more north than Tzfat. Okay? And why do I say this? Because Gerizim and Ebal are connected with Shechem, and Shechem was a city that belonged to the tribe of Joseph. Also Shiloh belonged to Joseph. Okay? Wonderful. So, it is my conclusion that Tzfat is Jerusalem, Hebron is the southern part of Tzfat, around Chukuk, on the Tzfat side of Chukuk, and Meron, where the Rashbi is buried, is Mount Ebal, and the Shammai tomb is Mount Gerizim, and Shiloh is above these two. End of part 3.